But you did it though. You said, look, sometimes you have to make motivated, I guess. I know, I did this.
What's that?
I brought my Hi, Aaron. How are you? Good. Are you going to live stream? Yes. Yes. We just introduced ourselves.
Cheryl was to Jacob and I go way back because let's see
Right.
back in the older days.
Super fun site.
Oh,
Many years ago.
yeah.
Unfortunately, still going on.
Yeah.
Kind of on.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. So I'm Jacqueline Morrison. I work for Mayor Ewing in the City of Omaha Mayor's Office. I am joined today with two of my colleagues, Aaron, who is our Communications Director, and also Tom Warren, who's our Chief of Staff, and then also Jake Linder, who is our Interim Parks Director. So thank you all for coming. I know it's cold and it's snowy outside. We weren't expecting that, but thank you for coming. We just wanted to, there's a sign-in sheet when you come in. If you want to get updates about next steps, I would encourage everyone to put your name down and also your email address so that we can follow up. There's also a Miller Park fact sheet. I would encourage everyone to grab a copy of that sheet. It has a lot of the answers to some questions that we've seen. There is an online survey. There's a QR code for it in the corner. And we went through some of those answers that we've already started receiving to see what questions people wanted answered. And so a lot of these answer some of those questions. And so this is an attempt for us, our first attempt at being responsive to some of the answers that people want to hear. And then there's also a paper copy of the survey. So if you don't have online access or if you prefer to leave a paper copy, there's a copy that's right as you walk in. So please feel free to grab a copy of that survey, fill it out, and leave it for us before we leave. So just wanted to talk a little bit about why we're here, what's going on, and how we got here. So we recently completed a Parks Master Plan at the City of Omaha. We wrapped that up in about fall of this year, so September, October is when we got the final results. And what basically the state of our parks kind of new, but it outlined it for us that our parks, one, are underfunded, so we have more acres than we're able to, or that we invested in, or that we're putting money in to take care of. So compared to our peer cities and our other places, for us to be average, we probably would need about $5 million extra a year into our park system to be funded at the basic maintenance level. So we kind of knew that by looking at the condition, but this was numbers that came to us in a report that said, here are the facts. The other thing we learned in that Parks Master Plan is that the number one thing people wanted to see is maintenance. And they don't want more parks. It's not a matter of adding or amenities, but rather, can we take care of what we have? And so we got that information back, and one thing that Mayor Ewing has said is, we are going to fix the parks. And so we are committed to that. We are having conversations. We have a task force. We have set up a lot of different groups from community, corporate, philanthropy to talk about how can we all come together to find solutions. Another thing that the report suggested is that we look at partnerships. So how can we partner with the community? How can we partner with philanthropy to find solutions? And so we are all hands on deck trying to understand what some of those solutions are. The second part of this is we were having conversations as well with the Logier Foundation, who have been asking for not just the past few months, but I would say over the past few years, what are the ways that we can make sure that Miller Park is taken care of? We know that there have been significant investments made into the park, and parks had not been keeping up with some of the concerns that the community had. And so we looked at our models, what models do we have in our park system that allows us to take care of and address the needs now. And one of those models is one that we've used at the riverfront parks. We've used it at Lake Cunningham, and it's also in place at Turner Park. And so if you know Turner Park in Midtown, they do jazz on the green, they do different concerts in the park. All of that programming is actually operated outside of the city with a partner, the same way the riverfront parks are programmed and also operated by a partner. So we said we look at that model as a partner, and we go to the community and see, is this something that they want? Is this something that the community would like to see? And so the reason you're here today is because we committed to coming to the community to see, is this something that you want? And we wanted to get your feedback. And so today is really about getting your feedback, getting your input. We're going to kind of address the basics, but then we're going to open it up for questions, answers, and comments to make sure that we listen to you, not just you listen to us. So that's right. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Tani.
Hi, good morning. My name is Tani Markison, and I've been with the Logier Foundation for 10 years. In 2016, I started kind of helping do special stuff with the school at the park. We noticed some things could be improved, so I started doing surveys in the park. I started talking to people in the park. I started asking people what they wanted to see in the park, what they didn't want to see in the park, what could we add, what of value. We did at least 2 years of data collecting, but we also, at the beginning of these conversations, knew that if we're talking to people about this stuff, we have to start acting on it as well. Like, how many times have we talked about things in North Omaha and never saw anything happen? So the first thing we did in the park was put the fountains in. That was a huge deal. And I don't know if it was to the golfers or what, because I guess the water was stagnant and it wasn't moving, so it stank. So we put one fountain in and got the water moving. People seemed to like it. We moved on to the next thing, which we could do quickly, and that was the walking trail. So we put that walking trail out there because there was nothing to walk on in that park. You couldn't even walk on like this city sidewalk. There's no city sidewalks on some of the edges. So we did that. The third thing we did was take all the sand out because the sand was kind of gross. And then we put the hard top down. Well, it's not really hard, but you know what I'm saying. There it is, rubber. You can tell my kids are young. So we put the rubber down. And then we just started going on with the list. Now, I talked to elementary schools. Again, I did surveys in the park. We talked to community members. This was not something that we just did on our own, except for the pickleball courts, which I had a conversation with Brooke about, and people seem to like them now. I didn't think they would go well, but they're going great. Thanks, Brooke. So, things that we put in the park were the things that people asked for. So, because I had those conversations with people, when things started kind of deteriorating or weren't getting upkeep, I also got those phone calls. I work for a foundation. I am not a parks person. I don't do parks things. So, trying to get some cohesiveness with the city and working on those things for a few years, and it just wasn't really happening. But in the meantime, we were still doing things. We started the out of school time, or it's the summer program at Miller Park. It's a free summer program for you kids. You can bring them there, I think 6 a.m. and pick them up at 6, something like that. They don't just stay there. They can go to Girl Scout camp. They can go to the movies. But that thing operates and has operated for at least 4 to 5 years, I think. 4 to 5 years. Thank you. So we did that. We started music at Miller Park 5 years ago. We just don't put our name on those things, because why would we? Who cares? Who does it, as long as it gets done? So we put music at Miller Park 5 years ago. That's been operating through Omaha Performing Arts. That's been very successful. Put some counters in the park to see what things were being used in the community, from the community. People like the exercise equipment a lot. People use the pickleball courts. People aren't really using the dog parks as much as we'd like, but that's because they're not been properly activated. So that was from 2016 until 2022. In 2022, I came back to the community and said, hey, we are ready to do the pavilion, because the pavilion needed significant work. We got community input, and I will say, like, we would have done it this way had the community not said, don't do it that way. So what our vision, like, for what we thought that the pavilion should have looked like, it was not what the community saw. So we pivoted and we implemented what the community's vision was. We had been envisioning a trust like this for about a year and a half. We weren't really getting any traction with the city. And then recently we got contacted by the mayor's office that this would be a good partnership. And so that's why we're coming to you now. With this, we were not going to have conversations in the community until we even knew it was a possibility. But we know that this investment that we've made in the park is significant, and we want to see it maintained. And by whatever means that is, so be it. So that is my part. One of the things we did do was consult with Lake Cunningham Trust, Brooke Bench, and that is who I worked with when I started the park. He was the parks director when I started with the Logier Foundation for maintenance and operation consulting. And I know Brooke has been through the park, with the city, and taken some inventory, and we are just kind of trying to figure out what we're doing from there.
So, one question came up that we saw in the survey is, what does day-to-day operations mean? What does maintenance mean? And so Brooke is here, and I'm just going to ask him to speak a little bit about what is that? What does it mean? You know, how is it different? But before I do that, I want to recognize Councilwoman Lavanya Goodwin is here. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Thank you for being here. And then ask Brooke to talk a little bit about what we consider day-to-day maintenance and operations. What are some of the things you do at Lake Cunningham Trust as a part of that agreement that you have?
Sure. Thank you for having me. Again, Lake Cunningham Trust was asked to be a consultant. I've been working with Tawny. I did work with Tawny when I was a parks director back in 2016, and they did a lot more than what she just said. They put the trail in, unbelievable splash ground, basketball courts. They helped with Carrier Roscoe Field, which is the nicest little league field in my opinion in Omaha, and many, many other things. So they were a wonderful partner back when I was with the city, and all of the improvements that they've done at Miller Park. And I know that the current administration wants to continue to see that, and we've been working with Jacqueline and Chief Warren on that, and helping, we want to help. So as far as what the maintenance you would see, what we do at Lake Cunningham, if anybody hasn't been out to Lake Cunningham, we've been operating and doing the operations and maintenance for 5 years now. And to date, we've had philanthropic commitments of $27 million to Lake Cunningham. So we've upgraded everything, redid the pavilions, we put a new walking trail in, built a new campground, upgraded the old campground. And then again, our donors are very similar to Lozier. They would like to see the things taken care of. So we do maintain the park 7 days a week, every day of the year. We pick up trash. If something's broke, we fix it. I think our staff prides ourselves on really wanting to maintain it at a high level. And that's what you would see at Miller Park. You would see trash picked up daily. You would see new trash receptacles. You would see anything that's broke, it would get fixed. You would see a cleaner, safer, more active park. And back to the dog park. I mean, it's a really, really nice dog park. We want to activate it more, along with everything else. We want to see the baseball field used more. We want to see the basketball courts used more. The kids can, and completely kids, and all the underserved kids and the kids that get the opportunity to work there. We want to see that even grow even more. We had 2,500 underserved kids come out to Lake Cunningham this summer that get a camp experience. And we would expand, we will partner even more moving forward with that. So we really want to see and take Miller Park to the next level. Would we close anything? No. Would we change the park hours or from 11 p.m. to 5 in the morning, just like any city park? The rules would all stay the same, and they are the same at Lake Cunningham, and they're the same at the riverfront, and they're the same at Turner Park. It's still a city park. Nothing's getting sold. It's just operated and maintained by a different entity than the city of Omaha. So you would definitely see the maintenance and the upkeep of the park. And again, I worked for the city for 25 years. I had 13 different positions in the Parks Department. Not here to bash the city, but I know, for like what Jacqueline said, we had 255 parks and all the golf courses. To maintain it at a high level, it's very difficult for the park maintenance staff, and it's going to take years to get caught up to where we all think we should be. Because some people will say, well, why doesn't the city just do this? Well, they're trying. Trust me, they're trying. And it's not something that can be fixed overnight. It's going to take some time, but partnerships like this, I think you'll see it's a win-win for everybody. So I'm here for questions if anybody has any questions.
I got one question. So we're gonna do questions just after Jake, and then we'll open it up for everybody. Sorry about that. We're gonna talk a little bit about what the city of Omaha will continue to do.
Well, I'm Jake Linder. I'm the interim parks director. And just for the record, I've only been doing this for 5 months, so don't beat me up. So, but anyways, I agree with Brooke. I mean, what Tawny was saying, there's still other things. There's a restroom building. There's all kinds of stuff that we've done that those years. It's been great to do. Before I get into maintenance and stuff like that, I just want everybody to know that I'm going on 14 years with the city. But I've been a part of every one of those projects over at North. Every one of them. I was hands-on every day at that pavilion, and I think it turned out fantastic. All the projects I've done has been great. I think we're still going to be working with the trust. We'll still do snow removal on the streets. We're still going to take care of the golf course and the pool. We're still going to take care of some of the heavy lifting for the trees and stuff like that. Brooks people can do, some branches and elevate and stuff like that. But we have forestry, and we're going to work together with them. I mean, it's a true public-private partnership that you just don't see, and it's out of Cunningham. It's fantastic. I think whatever we do here is going to be great. I guess if you guys have any questions on what we'll take care of this stuff.
Okay, I see Senator Spider, you just walked in, so just want to recognize her and make sure that you're right. I'm a mom. And it's snowing. So just wanted to go back over, the fact sheet is here. I think some of the main things that we wanted to just touch on from the sheet is the city getting the park away? And the answer is unequivocally no. This is a maintenance and operation agreement, and so it allows another entity to come in and provide the maintenance and operation for the parks. Another thing that was kind of floated was this is a 99-year agreement. the answer to that is there's no agreement that exists right now. We looked at what some of the models were, so there is a council document for Lake Cunningham Trust, there's a council document for the Riverfront Parks, there's a council document for Turner Park. And so we are still collecting input on those things. The conversations we had was a 10-year agreement with the option for a 5-year extension that would have to be approved by city council. But that is all still up for negotiation should we continue with community support. So that is the original, like I said, the original conversation was 10 years. But again, we're open to feedback and hearing what the thoughts of the community are. So with that, I will open it up for questions and comments.
My quick question was, I've been a Miller Park resident since '67, and all right, yeah, I've been a Miller Park resident since '67, back when I was little, and we keep referring to the Cunningham, but I guess I go back to Rainwood Road. The city always told us that road was going to stay open, and now that road's gone, going into Cunningham Lake, and it's what I don't hear that I'm wondering, I guess, how did Rainwood Road get closed when, I guess, around when the trust took over, and was there some kind of deal that we don't know about that might happen here?
I can answer that. Well, when we took over Lake Cunningham, there was 8 entrances to Lake Cunningham. And working with the police department at that time and the Northwest Precinct, it was very difficult to manage 8 entrances. Secluded entrances, so we worked with the Corps, and because it's all federal property, it's owned by the Corps of Engineers. Worked with the Corps of Engineers, worked with the city of Omaha to not have 8 entrances, because it was very difficult for us to maintain 8 entrances. And especially the north ones that were very secluded. We've added a new entrance that we opened up this year, but we have no plans. That's a 1,500-acre park. It's a gigantic park. This is an 80-acre park, completely different layout, especially where it's at. We do not plan on closing anything, and I don't think the Miller Trust has any desire to close anything. All we've been asked to do is help with the operations of daily maintenance and to elevate it to a different level, and that's what you would see.
The other thing I would say is the agreement as proposed, I won't say as proposed, but kind of the samples that are out there say that the city has to approve any capital improvements. So any large changes to the park would have to go through the city. And so if that's something that we could strengthen up to make people more comfortable, we could make sure that that language the language could even say that a capital improvement would have to be approved by the city council. And so that would be a public hearing where people could come and speak and say yes or no to some of those larger thresholds. So that all of those things can be done in the public and make sure that everybody either says yes or no to it.
I'll let Dr. Crawford go first.
I have 3 questions. My first one is, what precipitated this trust? Miller Park, in comparison to some of the other parks in the city, is a fairly small park. I noticed that on this form that you have, it talks a lot about being a safe place, a safe place, a safe place. So I'm just interested in what precipitated this conversation, number 1. Number 2, this coordinator that they anticipate hiring, would there be someone that actually has a voice in the community, such as someone from the neighborhood association? And my third question is, I have reason to know from conversations that I've had with Parks and Rec, maybe 2 years ago, that there are several places in parks, particularly in North Omaha, where the gates are locked, where we have these wonderful new baseball fields, and we have these wonderful new basketball courts, but they're locked, which means the people who live in the area do not have access. How would that change with this trust?
I'm going to ask Connie to answer the first 2 questions, and then I will talk to the third one.
So what participated, what is that, so, okay. So, we went to the city and said, hey, our investment, because again, I don't know if you were here when I opened, but in 2016, I started the park project with the community, had the conversations with the people of the community, went around to the schools, did surveys at the park during the summertime, and so people thought that I was the person to call, or I am the person still to call for the parks, anything that goes wrong with the parks. So I know a lot about what's going on at the park. We put $100,000 at the Omaha Parks Foundation in order to fix anything wrong with the park, with the caveat to ask us for more should they need it. And we just got our first phone call on that money to use that to fix something in the park when Mayor Ewing took over. So we're just trying to keep up the investment, the $8 million investment we've already made. Because I can tell you, Brooke and the Parks Department went through it recently, was it recently? And there is a whole punch sheet of things that need to be fixed already. And it's not even 10 years later.
I'd just like to comment on behalf of Mayor Ewing, and for those of you who were not here earlier, I serve as Chief of Staff for Mayor Ewing, and the question was what precipitated this agreement. And again, Terry, you weren't here earlier, but the Parks Department was woefully underfunded. Okay, we had a very comprehensive master plan, and we were having those initial conversations even before the consultant's report was finalized. We estimated that the Parks Department was about $5 million underfunded. And that's from projects, capital, but primarily maintenance. And of course, we got the report back, and they estimated that it would take $5 million just for us to become average, just adequate. And that's department-wide. We have roughly a $41 million general fund operating budget allocation for the Parks Department. And so $5 million is more than 10%. And so that's citywide, that's 256 parks, that's 165 full-time employees. So we know we're deficient when it comes to the amount of funding that's allocated to our Parks Department. And then of course, Jacqueline mentioned some of the survey data. I will also tell you that we allocated the American Rescue Plan Act funds, the ARPA funds, citywide. But when we were conducting those surveys, public spaces emerged as the top priority for funding for our ARPA funds. So we know that the community has an expectation that we adequately fund our parks and that we adequately maintain our parks. Furthermore, I'll tell you that when Mayor Ewing came into office, he was inundated with complaints about the condition of our parks. And obviously there were some changes in personnel, but I will tell you that when Jake was appointed as interim director, it was all hands on deck regarding the maintenance of our parks. But that included electricians and plumbers having to mow our parks and mow grass just so that we can get upkeep up to a level that was acceptable. And I think you may have noticed an improvement in terms of the condition, but that's unsustainable. And so respectfully, we have a great partnership with the Lozier Foundation. They have supported the city of Omaha. They have supported North Omaha. Obviously, the school. There's an example. You see the toddlers in there playing basketball. It's been a result of the very generous support that we've received from the Lozier Foundation. And so what you will see is an investment in our Parks Department. This is an example of our public-private partnership. Certainly we're very appreciative of the support that we receive from the Lozier Foundation. And of course, the Lozier Foundation decided to support Miller Park in this instance. So we benefit by having a foundation that has identified a geographic area that they want to support, a specific park that they would like to support. And so we are just facilitating this agreement as a partnership. So hopefully that answers your question.
There was one more question.
Before you answer that last one, respectfully, I think it's a matter of priorities as far as, and I understand low staffing and all of that, I get it. However, I pass Memorial Park every single day because I teach at the university. There's not an issue with maintenance at that park. And it's about 3 times bigger than Miller Park. So I think it's a matter of priorities as to where those maintenance and the other concerns are as we spread that out across the city. So now that we have the school here, now that we have Roziers here, it has become a priority apparently, but it wasn't before. And I don't want to speak for the residents that live in the area, because I don't live in this area, but I grew up right here on 24th and Kansas Street. So I know a lot about the neighborhood, right? I think there was a priority issue. So now this is great. If it becomes a priority, that's a wonderful thing. But I just want to make sure we have the proper motivation for all of this.
Certainly, and I'll add, you know, the Memorial Park on the north side of Dodge, you may have a different assessment when you talk to the folks at Elmwood Park. Okay? And so, respectfully, we recognize that we have great parks that are pristine, and we have those that need support and additional improvement. And so, in this instance, we have another park that has birds as part.
I mean, just to add on to that, I would say, with the help of those years, we do have a full-time caretaker that's here that he will go to another park and take care of that park, that position didn't exist. And then all the crew that work here at Miller Park can take care of the 49 other parks in this district to help them, you know, a little bit better.
So I want to answer your last question, but I want to mention Memorial Park. I spoke to Tiffany Reading last week of the Parks Foundation, and they were partnering to go out and do gardens at the road to rehabilitate the rose garden that's at Memorial Park. And so I know it looks like, you know, that park's great, but that's another park that also has partnerships. That's through the Parks Foundation, where people are putting in resources and time to take care of that park. So I would love to say we were doing that all on our own, but we are not. And there are other people who are helping. And so this is, again, an opportunity to get more help into the park system. But the third, so Ken Fox is not here today, but he was here on December 4th. He indicated when the Carrier Roscoe Field was created, his vision was for it to always be open to the community, and that there was a lot of vandalism that was happening within the field. And so they felt that the only way to protect it at that time, to protect the investment, was to lock it up because of the things that he would find within the field and what people may have been doing in that area. So what this opportunity allows for is staff and maintenance, or staff that's going to be at the park every single day. So you will be able to open up some of those amenities that have been closed, such as the restrooms or the ball field, because you'll have eyes on the park at all times. We weren't able to provide eyes on the park, and so I think that's what led to some of those amenities being closed.
Can I do a quick follow-up question on that? You just said that there's 49 city employees that kind of rotate through.
No, 49 other parks in this
Okay,
district.
so the staffing for the current city staffing for Miller Park is how many folks?
It varies. In the summer, maybe 10.
Okay, so under this agreement, then the trust becomes responsible for staffing, maintenance, and security?
Yes.
So there's a structure.
There will be, yeah.
Yeah, there will be a structure. Someone who's responsible for hiring.
Yes.
And will there be contracting opportunities?
And so this is the thing, like, we're just putting this together. So we're in the process of that. That's why we're having these community meetings. We're not trying to ram this down anybody's throat. We're just getting community feedback. If it's a resounding no, we're good. Like, we'll be sad because we'd like to do it. But, I mean, we haven't set up any of those things yet. But absolutely.
The intent is that the
I would,
trust
yes.
would take over that.
Absolutely.
That's all.
And I would love to see community engagement, community contract, like, the people that live in the community should be working in the area.
Right, that's what.
I mean, I love being at music at Miller Park, because when I watch the police officers walk through music at Miller Park, they're hugging everybody because it's their neighborhood. That's what I want to see at Miller Park.
Yeah, you talked about
Mostly
mowing.
so, yeah.
You talked about mowing. I mean, we've got a lot.
Yeah, mowing, and that's what I'm saying, mowing too. We've got a lot of private contractors. We've got job training programs in North Omaha that could have people out there getting litter, you know, like it's about the discipline. So we've thought about those pieces, but we haven't flushed anything out yet because we're getting the input now.
And I'll just add that the personnel at Miller Park then could be reallocated throughout the city of Omaha at other public parks, and it will not result in any reduction in staff for our Parks and Rec department. In fact, it's probably going to result in a net increase to the number of personnel that are currently allocated to the parks.
That's awesome.
And I want to speak to that, the community coordinator will absolutely have to be from this area and understand how to work with the community and what that takes. In fact, I was talking to the finance, and if we do this, like, we need a good person, a good voice from the community that can represent everyone. It would also be awesome if we could have a community advisory board. Diane Logier did it with founded the school. So community voices are extremely important in everything we do.
And I would say the answer to your question is yes. We don't have at the city money to do a lot of private contracts to be able to take care of the park. But if the trust instituted that to be able to put local people in the park doing work, that's an opportunity this presents that we're not able to staff.
Yeah, just kind of building off of Professor Crawford's question. I mean, a few things. It does seem like the way, the rhetoric that's being used right now, that decisions kind of have already been made.
No.
Well, I'll get to that. I mean, why not just give the city the money to help its budget shortfalls and its irresponsibilities with these budgets so that it can actually take care of these parks? Like, why?
Oh, I agree. And as I stated earlier, we put $100,000 at the Parks Foundation and said, hey, whatever, fix it. And again, we just got our first phone call about the merry-go-round, and I have a whole list of things that I've been contacting the city, and I don't mean to be aggressive because it's not anybody in the city's fault. They have a hierarchy in which or not a hierarchy, that's the wrong word. They have a process in which they do prioritize things. And so, unfortunately, the work that we already did kind of pushed Miller Park up to they're fine.
Right.
And it's really not fine, especially for this community, to me. So, if money were going to fix it, it would have fixed it already. And if Mayor Ewing decides, or is not in office in 4 years, like, who's to say the next mayor's gonna care? Like, and this is just me talking, so.
No, sure. No, I mean,
Yeah.
I think we've consistently said that the parks budget is not prioritized.
It's not
as compared to the
prioritized.
police budget.
And now
budget.
this mayor is
But
prioritizing.
here's
so we're
my
going
thing
through
then,
that.
so what is actually being read on December 23rd at the city council meeting if there isn't an agreement? Like, what is being read?
So we have a template. There's a maintenance and operation agreement template. And it's the template that was used for Lake Cunningham, template that we have from Turner Park. We are collecting input right now to see what are the things that we need to put into the template, what do we change, how do we put more specific language in it. If we think that there's a consensus from the community that this is supported, we would put that document together and take it to city council. It has to be approved by the city council, so there's a first reading, the second reading is a public hearing. If, based on this feedback, it takes more time than December 23rd, then we'd be looking at January or February.
Well, do you see where my question comes in? That's where it's important. Why would you do the first reading on the day before Christmas Eve when a lot of people are traveling? I mean, it just seems weird to do the hearing, the first reading then. That set things in motion.
That's not a public, it's the second reading is where the public is able to speak. That's just the first time it appears.
But it still sets things in motion. No, I mean, it's a process.
I think part of, we were thinking about the whole timeline. We only have 2 city council meetings in the month of January. And so if we wanted to get this going, let's say by spring of this year, so April, Parks is not maintaining, but it would be an operating agreement. We just kind of worked back to what would that timeline be, which is why we scheduled the stakeholder meetings now. If that timeline doesn't work, it's okay.
No, I think people would want to be there. It's the 23rd. I doubt there'll be even a lot of the city employees.
That's not,
Talk
that's
a little bit
not
about
the
it.
public
I don't know
hearing.
if you might.
But it's the first reading.
No, the public doesn't speak at the first reading.
No, it just, when a reading, it just appears on the agenda for the first time. So that's all. So there's no public hearing, there wouldn't be the reading is not public. So maybe that helps.
Thank you.
Yep.
Councilwoman, thank you.
And if I could, clarify, say, well, why doesn't the trust doesn't give the money to the city of Omaha? We have a $550 million general fund operating budget. Okay, you have a $40 million Parks Department budget. We discussed that it's $5 million woefully underfunded. We haven't talked about the dollar amount commitment that is being made, but it's substantial. But certainly, you would need to earmark where those funds would go, other than just giving the city the money, if you follow me. And so this will allow these funds to be directed specifically towards the upkeep of Miller Park.
Thank you.
I think Glenda's next in the national.
I'd like to read my statement, because I don't want my words twisted, okay? Good morning, my name is Gwen Easter. I'm speaking on behalf of my organization and as a resident of North Omaha. I've been serving in North Omaha for 26 years. I've provided a home individual referral service and other services. North Omaha residents welcome investments and improvements to our neighborhoods, and we want to work collaboratively with the city of Omaha and community partners. We are not opposed to change. We are asking that the change be done responsibly and strongly protect the community. For over a decade, we have watched state, city partners with foundations and organizations that did not benefit the community. It led to families losing homes, child care businesses losing their businesses, and many low-income residents and others being redirected out of our community using systems and relationships. Miller Park is a public space that has served generations of families. Any proposal to transfer or manage this park through a foundation must guarantee continued public ownership, free access, and meaningful community decisions making. Most importantly, improvements must not lead to displacement of the residents who already live here. We believe in development without displacement. We believe the people who have sustained North Omaha deserve to benefit from the investment, not be pushed out by it. We ask the mayor and the city to ensure that any agreement includes enforcement, community protections, transparency, and accountability. We stand ready as a community to work with the city, foundation, and partners to move forward together. As long as North Omaha residents come first, because we have often seen that partnership, they come up with excuses and reasons to why we're being pushed out, why things are occurring. So my question is, what protections are guaranteed in writing that the public can actually see? We don't want to hear any more of things being stated in meetings and then go behind closed doors and then it becomes something different. We has power. We has power if the foundation. Who has the power if the foundation changes directions? How is displacement being prevented, not just studied? And what happens if the community says no later? Where is the enforcement and not just oversight? And the last thing I want to say, I respect the Mayor Union. I respect my city council person that I voted for. I'm going to give them the same opportunity to do right by our community the same way we gave our previous leaders, our mayor, who did not. But one thing I want to make clear here, to my city council person, all due respect, please do not ever relate my name to racism, okay? Because you know me, and I'm addressing that because it's a need to. Hold on. I appreciate you and the work you're trying to do, but I just want to make that very clear because that's what happened in that city council meeting. In her meeting.
If I could respond to your
respectfully, thank y'all.
Regarding transparency, the agreement will appear on City Council agenda. It will detail all the provisions with regard to this agreement. And so, if there are any questions or any concerns in terms of what is contained in that document, it's available. Terms will usually agreed upon between the City of Omaha and Rozier Foundation. And ultimately, it will be subject to City Council approval. So all of these conversations are subject to the public scrutiny?
Our plan would be if we're gonna keep the survey open for another week, so I believe it's scheduled to close on the 19th. We will receive any feedback via email that people have, also via the survey, however you want to communicate with us. If we think that there is a consensus that people want this or are okay with it, we've discussed sending out a draft agreement to everybody who has put their name on an email. And so the community would be able to see it even before it goes to city council. So if there are concerns or things that you want to see in the agreement, email us back, give us that feedback, and then we can continue to get it right. We're not in a rush. And so if we need to spend another month or 2 months to get it right, we're happy to do that. But in terms of transparency, we're willing and happy to send that agreement out even before we send it to city council to make sure that the community can see it. I want to make sure I get Ashley.
I wanted to first come at this as a parent of Mandela kids. 2 of my babies went through Mandela. My daughter was the first to graduate class out of Mandela. I think we have to be careful of not allowing when there is money in place to help us when they see a problem that we've all seen for generations. The second thing is Mandela uses the park as an addition for our kids. And I think there was not a revelation of some of the things that were happening until we were planning on using the park on Wednesday and they said it was going to be mowed on Tuesday and the grass was a foot tall, so the school would have to call somebody and pay to get an area mowed, which technically is against the law, right? Or we're going to plug in sweepers for our graduation and the outlet doesn't work, and we call it in and it takes 9 weeks to get the outlet. You know, or we were planning a field day and parents would have to go across the street because somebody backed their truck up and dumped it on the grass, right? And these were all funds that were already being utilized either by volunteers or Volunteer Foundation kicking in last minute. And so I think the optics of it may not be the best, but as a parent that saw my kids go through here and the calls that I got at 1 p.m. in the afternoon, can you leave work and come help because we got to do this thing for our babies? It was a lot. It was tough as a parent. And it was, I commend Volunteer Foundation because they were there to help be like, just tap into the school reserves and go do it, we'll figure it out on the back end. And then the second thing to that is it also activated it, right? My kids learned how to golf when they were here, and so we golf at the golf course all the time, or our babies learned how to swim here, so they all go meet up on Saturday there. It really is an impactful investment that they were already spending money on, but did not have the control to say, here's $100,000 and we can do what we want. We have to go through public meetings for people that don't know the background of it, or we have to wait for those funds that we just gave to come back 10 months later. It really is a strong, impactful investment that everyone would be open to your comments, commentary, even restrictions. I think if you just get them out early and often.
I really appreciate that. I think that's amazing. And I think everybody appreciates what hears. I think that there's a two-pronged issue going here because it's due to budget shortfalls. We're seeing our city giving away tax increment finance to all these developers, which in the short term is costing the coffers money, and therefore they're them having to resort to bringing in these, benevolent foundations. But, people see things happen at Gene Leahy Mall, where people were protesting Palestinian genocide, and then private security coming and zip tying them, and in an area that is already kind of probably over-policed. That's what the concern is. So I don't think the concern is with the foundation. I think the concern is with the malfeasance of the city and how it's spending the people's money. So, but I appreciate what you said, though.
Yeah. So I want to make sure we are.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, first, we're looking at how we can safeguard the ownership, so to speak, with why to need a 10-year agreement versus a 5-year agreement where you can plan to.
We talk a lot of
okay. Oh, I was just asking about why we are planning for a 10-year agreement versus possibly a 5-year agreement with the likelihood of continuing on with the project. And that gives the opportunity to come back and plan and do and reevaluate and plan again and keep the partnership. And then also, I live in a different community, but I have property here that I bought for my sister's family and another family that's in my family, because obviously we don't have housing, right? So if you're on any other type of housing project, you're not gonna get an actual single-family dwelling. So I'm very invested in what happens, and it's in the Miller Park area. As a person that looks at what can happen down the line, I saw it being a very positive environment for a family. I will agree that there does need to be maintenance, because I looked at the umbrellas that broke off, I don't know, I would say 2 years ago, and kind of as I would travel through going different areas, I thought, thinking like, this is such a beautiful place. In the summertime, you hear the kids playing softball, you do see kids out playing basketball. Kind of, I could see the narrative changing from this being, you know, what we used to call Miller Park with the K on it, to now being a family situation. But to keep that growing, you've got to keep beautifying it, because if you keep beautifying it, then you're less likely to attract people that come to destroy it. So I can see the purpose of the relationship, just want to make sure that it continues to be the heart of the community, because it does reflect what I see in way out far suburban environments. And I just want to make sure that it continues to maintain and be the heart of the surrounding members of Florence Boulevard area. So just why do we need a 10-year versus 5?
I think it was just the way that the others had been done, so that's just what we used. It doesn't, you know, we have also said that you can cancel it at any time. Like, we don't have, I mean, just, yeah, we don't have anything in writing yet. We don't, you know, trade.
I would supplement that to say, we stuck with 10 year because that was the traditional template the city would use. Fundamentally, we're going to staff up and we're going to take the responsibility to kind of do this and commit to it and recruit people to engage in these positions and give them the certainty that they can see operational improvement, et cetera. We wanted it to be long enough that we would have a runway to do those kinds of things, to make those commitments. So as Tony just alluded to, we are more than happy with this agreement reflecting the city's ability to cancel it at any time if they deem our services unsatisfactory. We're not trying to lock anybody into any long-term commitment, but we can pivot or do something different. We really do want this to be something the community feels good about, and that they recognize our intentions to our benefit.
Just want to add one more thing, maybe this will eventually come up at city council meetings. Kind of like with ARPA funds, we try to supposedly use those resources to grow services in the community. I know we got a lot of people that have lawn services, things like that. Are we going to be mindful of who we would give contracts to maintain the park?
I have a question. The city, and since Mayor Ewing has been in office, he's taken some significant steps to create contracting opportunities for small and emerging businesses. One of the efforts right now, we have a one-phase application for anybody who wants to do business with the city. Not only, it's a website, it provides some technical assistance, how to submit the bid, opportunities for contracting. And so notification will actually go out to those individuals who have a particular service. And if it's lawn care, then they'll be notified when these contracting opportunities are available. With respect to the Miller Park Trust, they will have some latitude in determining who they identify for these contracting opportunities. And so, yes, I think the plan is and the intent is to utilize local contractors to create those opportunities for the small and medium businesses.
And in the larger scale of things, when we know that we have a budget shortfall and we don't have enough staff to take care of the parks, and I said at the very beginning, we're getting creative to look at all solutions. One solution that the Parks Department has proposed is, can we use contractors to help with things? And so we know that if there's a storm and we have a cleanup, we stop mowing to be able to go clean up the safety hazards in parks. Can we maybe utilize small contractors to go out and help during some of those times? If we have parks that are harder to mow because of hills or take longer, can we contract those out? So, as we look to bring in additional resources, financial resources into the city, we're also looking at how can we solve some of these problems. But as you probably know, we're always weighing private contractors, and then we have to answer union jobs. And so it's always a balance of making sure we're doing the right thing. And I think we're talk with parks and find out what those right solutions are. I think Sharon had a question.
Yes, I do. And first, thank you for having the meeting, I want to say. And I think you're sending mixed emotions to us here. The Lozier Foundation is saying one thing, something else is coming from the city. You just said that, hey, maybe we need to change, or we're going to do this. Why is this big rush and fast? Because that's what it seems to be doing. You're wanting to get this put on the city council, and we all know what happens when it goes to city council, that it's usually what that vote's going to be. Why can't you slow this train down? Lozier's has said they had underneath the previous, the money never got touched. As soon as we get a new one in, a new administration in, now people are doing, and you're going to take after. Why does this trust have to be set up on what was prior and Cunning Lake and Turner? Those are different demographics, different parks, different everything than what North Omaha is. We always get this shorting. You're rushing through. I appreciate what you said, Ms. Council, about making this a community. Why can't we have a community land trust, which is going to be people working with Lozier is going to support the community land trust to see that it is, not using those samples. You already have a template you talk about. You're hearing from different people here. If that's the problem, shouldn't you be taking this in to put for a template that's going to go before the city council? You're pushing this, and it's just like everything else. It gets pushed down our throats to say this is what's going to happen. I agree with the lady right there. 10 years. It doesn't have to be 10 years. We're already telling you. Why can't you shorten it up? So change that in the template. Why is this big rush to hurry up and get this to be done in January, February? If you haven't done it in years, why are you forcing this down now? There needs to be more time taken with this. Listen to what's being said, your survey, and I hope that it's made sure that it is community who will be the ones that are going to be the staff. Those are the community who's going to be. I don't have anything against Cunningham. Like, could care less one way or the other. I don't want to see them be the ones that's going to be directing the staff or being over at anything. We have a lot of talent in North Omaha. We have a lot of caring people in North Omaha. Why can't you get us together that we develop working with Lozier as a supporter and the city? So I think that you are sending mixed messages, and this still seems more like what is usually happened for North Omaha. And we need to give our city council person here, could be totally different than what we've had in the past, we hope. So give her an opportunity time too. But I really feel like, and other people that I've talked to, the feeling is this is being rammed down our throat. We have appreciated Lozier, what you're doing. We would like to sit down and talk with you more to see about how we can be community, North Omaha community, and as well as with the city. I don't think this is fair to come again and push this on us, because we're really not getting an opportunity in time. Everything is being pushed along to get on a city council reading. And I fully understand about city council and the reading process, and then when the vote comes up. And if it is, and you've already said, one, you said you had a template that you're filing, you'll have it together, then you came out and you said later, well, we could change this before we get, slow this train down.
So
and
I'm
B.
happy to respond. If I didn't make it clear, I'll say it again. We're in no rush, and we want to get this right. This isn't rushed.
So can it be pulled from the December
It's not
hearing?
It's not on any agenda
If it's,
right now. It has
the
to-
city council person said that it was supposed to be the hearing, it was going to be on the reading on the 23rd.
You know, we've been working on this for over a year, and so this is not something that has been done.
But you haven't had the community, but let me finish first. You haven't had the community involvement for a year, because you did say a year and a half. So, but it hasn't been the community.
To how decisions are made in city government, including the fact that we're having the stakeholder meetings, these conversations right now where we collect community input. The process, we've just had conversations with our city council. We briefed them so that they're aware of what may be presented on the city council agenda. We project out when that will occur. obviously, we would like to have it in place for 2026 so that we can take advantage of the enhanced maintenance that will occur next year. And so, yeah, timeliness is important. We do feel that we have been very, very deliberate. We don't feel as if we have rushed this or forced it down anyone's throat. The purpose of this conversation today is to collect input. One of the things we heard, the term. Is 10 years too long? Could it be a 5-year agreement with a 5-year option? Certainly that would be taken into consideration. The agreement is in draft form. Of course, the survey is still open. We're taking this opportunity to collect input. And then, yes, you will see a proposal on the city council agenda because we would like to move this forward in anticipation of 2026.
All right, guys, so I appreciate the feedback today. I clearly think public engagement is critical to how you bring about change in a community. And so as I'm listening to all the concerns, one is that this community has the input moving forward is one of the things I hear resounding. I kind of want to collect what I've heard, not really saying that I'm on one side or another, because clearly I have to represent this community as well as the city. So one, I know we have a very active neighborhood association here in Miller Park. I believe several of the representatives are here. Can you raise your hand? And then how many residents, actual physical residents, are here in the room today? Can you raise your hand if you live in the neighborhood? Okay. One of the things I noticed before I even became a council person was how active this neighborhood association is. And I thought if every neighborhood in my district could be that active and engaged, wow, we'd have a really great district, right? And so I think that as it concerns and as this process evolves, connect to that neighborhood association because they let their voice be heard. Okay, they show up, and I think you're only seeing a fraction of the people who show up regularly to those meetings. So I think that's going to be important as this process moves along. That's one. I also heard Logier say that they'll have an advisory board. I hope that not only will that neighborhood association sign up to be a part of that advisory board, but those who have concerns in this room would sign up as well. Because ultimately, I understand that trust is always a factor, right? Because our neighborhoods have been so disinvested for so long, even when good things look like they're about to happen, we've seen, and in no way am I saying this would be Logier, but I want to let you all know that I'm feeling the pulse of the room. And I understand as a North Omaha resident myself that oftentimes, we're told one thing, something else happens, and then we're like, wow, we thought this was going to be good for us, and it turned out to be something else, right? But let me tell you one of the things I did when I first, one of my first things I did was I toured Minnelusa. I toured Minnelusa twice, once with the neighborhood association, and then I came down here with Public Works, and I have a list. Some things we were able to get done quickly. Other things were seasonal, meaning we couldn't fix some of the grading at the pond right away because that's something that you have to do at a certain time of year. I also noticed the pace in which this administration, including myself, not only were hearing problems, but trying to address them. Okay? And there has been, a very quick turnaround when we can. But in the back of my mind, I'm also thinking, how do we keep the pace? How do we keep responding so quickly to a lot of needs? And really, it's neglect. Okay? We know our communities have been neglected. This is a different administration. You got a mayor who is from North Omaha, yet serves the entire city. But I think that what that means is he understands what it means to live in North Omaha, and he understands what it means to have equity. You have a representative who's listening, who is action-oriented, who ran on beautifying neighborhoods, not afraid to get out here and help when it's needed on a regular basis. But I think to answer your question about 5 versus 10 years, we usually look at budgets at a 6-year range, okay? And at the city, a 10-year commitment could allow for the runway to see the actual change you want to see and test it in a way that we don't have to come back to the table, in 5 years and figure out where the money's going to come from. And I don't want to speak for Logier. If they're still in the mindset, and I know they're committed to North Omaha, but if it still makes sense for them. So 10 years could be a runway that allows it on our budget or a time frame where we can see if this works. Again, I'm not trying to make decisions this morning, but I'm just trying to synthesize for you how I'm hearing this, not only from a residential perspective, but also a city council perspective. We have an opportunity to partner. I think that's what this meeting really means, and I'm offering you some pathways to partner. I'm also willing to hear from you all, but we have a chance to make this area a place where people don't have to feel like they have to move close. Public partners, private partnership works, and yet your concerns matter as well. So lean into that survey. I hope those of you who are in this room will take that survey and share it out to your neighbors, share it out to your family members, get that feedback. Okay, this moment has been valuable for me. Then I also hope those of you in the room who are not a part of the neighborhood association, okay, will lean in and be a part of that, because that's what this long-term partnership looks like, really. It's today gathering the information, but in the subsequent days, weeks, months, and years, it's about the long-term engagement. Finally, if we decide that December 3rd does not make sense, 23rd. December 23rd, yeah, we're past the 3rd, thank you. Yeah, we can do that. Yeah. Because we ultimately want this to work for everyone involved and for people to but to know, okay, that their voices matter, their concerns matter, and that long term, after we're long and gone, okay, that this park is a place that the community can be proud of. So I'm open as well to hearing your concerns. I would like to have that survey and to see where the answers are so far, however you all are looking at it, and that way I've got more information to work for. And if we decide, and I don't know if we need to internally decide that, hey, December 23rd is just a little too fast for us to move, we lay things over all the time. And yet, I also understand the immediacy to get started, in 2026 for a meaningful process that works for this entire community. So those are my thoughts today. Thank you so much.
So I know Senator Spivey wanted to speak. I know Terry, so I'll do Terry and then Senator Spivey. I wanted to just kind of talk about that timeline. So again, just being as transparent as possible. The thought was we'd start needing maintenance and mowing and things like that, and probably around April-ish. If you think about the time it takes to get contractors, things lined up to be able to staff and hiring to be able to do the work, you're probably looking at February. So then to be able to start February, you probably want to have something from City Council in January. So then we backed up from there. When should we start talking to the community? We notify them in November. So if that was the cadence of the timeline, not to push or rush anything, we move slow. And so to be able to get something to go in April, we have to start now. And so it's not to start tomorrow, but to be able to at least be able to meet that spring season, to be able to have people on board. So,
good morning. My name is Terry Sanders. If you don't know me, I am the editor, publisher, CEO, that means I own it, of the Omaha Star newspaper. I need you to know that part. The Omaha Star has been in this community 88 years. I am no spring chicken, and I've been here a long time. I was born here. But, now this is my personal opinion. North Omaha suffers from lack of pulling the trigger. Okay? That means that it's on the table, let's get about it. You have time to, if it's not right, we got time to correct it. But if you never pull the trigger and you never get started, where you at? You was at the same place you were 20 years ago. I've heard that there have been over 30 studies about North Omaha.
60.
How many?
60.
60 studies. 60. Out of 60 studies, what action or activity has happened? Now, the Omaha Star is all about the good news. I think that this meeting this morning, that Logier being here, the city being here, the community being here, that's good news. And I think that a survey is good news. I am not political minded, have never been, and don't intend to start. But I do care about this community. I have grandchildren here at Nelson Mandela. Shoot, I learned to play golf in Miller Park. I don't play as much as I should. Sorry, Mr. Black. But I think that it's important that this kind of meeting is going on. I trust the people I'm hearing from. At some point, you got to learn to trust the people, because none of us are in the room, but everybody here are the people in the room. So we got to learn to trust the people in the room. If they get it wrong, call them up, tell them about it, tell them why they're wrong, have another meeting. But let's start to trust, pull the trigger, and let it fly.
But you know what? But what I'm hearing from the world I function from is relationship. Relationship has been missing. And so I work with child care providers in North and South Omaha, right? And they've always felt like, okay, we're going to collect this data, and it doesn't come through. So I beg, it's relationship. So where do my words land? So when I speak what I'm saying and I desire from my heart, for my community, where does it land? So as for you guys to take back and say, this is the data collection. I need y'all to know that for some. This is the data collection. So when you collect the data, yes, we're going to do an advisory committee, but also listening to the pulse of the community and what the needs are in the community. Not just to say, okay, this is what we're going to do, because this is what we desire to do. Is that what the community says that that's what we need? Is that what they desire? And so when relationship happens, and I agree with you, because the blessing is in the room. So either you're going to walk with the blessing or you're going to let the blessing leave the room. But what we saying that is, do you continue to walk away? Do you continue to say, no, not today? What do you want? Do you want it or you don't? So I think you got to let your yes be your yes and your no be your no. However, it's about relationship. It's about listening to the people who have never been listened to. It's really not too much about art. It's about what I've already spoke, and it went nowhere. So if you're going to ask for and have this beautiful moment, it's taking the information and building a relationship. But also the community, we got to be open enough. We got to be open enough to build a relationship. We got to be open enough to say, hey, we got pride in this part. When we see something that ain't functional right, we got to be open enough to say. So I agree. The blessings in the room. So that's just how I want to
good morning, everybody. I know a lot of familiar faces in the room, so glad to see people here. I'm Ashley Spivey, pronoun. Sorry, Paul, I'm messing up your taking. I'm Ashley Spivey, pronoun she, her. I'm the sitting senator for District 13, so Miller Park is in my district. My oldest went to Mandela. I use the park. They've gotten a lot of calls from me about the park. But I actually worked at Peter Pewitt Foundation and was a part of the initial investment when Connie was helping to curate other philanthropic organizations, and I held that grant file. So I have a long history with Miller Park and the investment side as well as a resident. living on 24th and Newport, and then still in this area. And so I appreciate first, I just want to thank Logier and the city for having community meetings. I'm a community organizer by trade. I run a nonprofit that still does that. And so being able to hear voice and be in space with people is really important. And this is also a space of privilege, right? To be able to come on a Saturday morning and sit and have this conversation. And so I appreciate the other outlets that they are presenting through a survey. I literally, Tanya and I were texting yesterday, and we talked about doing some door knocking or text messaging to get feedback too, because we know people have other priorities and they want to engage, and it's not always accessible. And so they are willing to do that, and she has made that commitment to think through those avenues to also gather feedback, especially for the people that live in the area and use the park. I think that's important. And we use the term community in North Omaha a lot. And North Omaha has a really big footprint. So you also have other parks that have been impacted, like Adams. You have Fontenelle. I'm riding hard for Florence, right? So North Omaha is a huge footprint. And so yes, North Omaha needs to be a part of this conversation. And you see micro neighborhoods and communities that are very much directly impacted. And so I would also encourage that kind of segmented approach to understanding the larger footprint and the leadership and the ideas, and then again, who actually lives here. Earlier this year, it was right after session, and I walk in this park consistently. My son learned golf from Uncle Mike, my oldest, and so I was walking, and the grass was not mowed. There was an event that past weekend, and there was a ton of litter, and then there was someone that was having an explicit act underneath the pavilion, and I lost it. I called Mayor Ewing directly to his cell phone. I called Deputy Captain Cherie Thomas. She got me connected to someone. I said, this park cannot look like this. And I do think it's true that there has been capital investment that is being wasted. And there's two conversations that's happening. A budget reflects priorities, whatever level of government. I sit on appropriations at the state, so I am working to decide what are the priorities of the state. The priorities and budget of the city have not historically reflected North Omaha holistically. And we know that people want public amenities. And so we have a mayor that has been in office, I don't know, since June? 6 months. 6 months. And so the conversation in general, when we talk about what we want and dream for our neighborhoods, is that we need to be advocating for the budget reflections and choices that happen in the investments. So that's one part. Then there's a specific conversation about Miller Park and this trust, and how we set that up. And I think the goal is, and what I've heard people say, is that we want to set it up in a way that does not waste investment that has already happened, and that it can honor what people want for our neighborhoods, including public amenities. And so this is the time now to set that. This is the time now to give critical feedback. And we're not going to make every single resident in this area happy, whatever is decided. For people who want it, who don't want it, and people that are somewhere in between. And I hope that people will consider centering what we want for our neighborhoods to really be vibrant, right? Like that's the end goal, and I think we all can come around that end goal. That seems to be everyone's point of view here from what I heard. We want to make sure voices are heard, our kids can use it, that it's a proud moment. And so that's what I'm really leaning to as I listen to folks around this. I don't have a point of view either way right now. I work with Logier in a number of facets, and I've trusted them. They take critical feedback when I have it. As a partner in the community through my nonprofit, as a sitting senator, they have taken it. I've given really critical feedback to the city, specifically Jacqueline and Mr. Warren, about how parks are ran, from Levi Carter to Miller Park to things at Fontenelle, and they have listened. We have not always agreed, but we sat in the messiness of it to try to move to an end goal. And so I appreciate people being here today. And again, I wanted to speak out just to make sure you know that I'm listening as your senator, and will continue to advocate for what our constituents want, and really what the neighborhood association and the neighbors right around are visioning, and then of course working with Councilwoman Goodwin to make sure that her perspective as the city leadership here is also honored. So I thank you all for being here. I just wanted to say those couple of remarks.
She didn't raise it high enough. I'm sorry.
My name is Nancy Garter. I'm the president of the Miller Park Neighborhood Association. and thank you, Councilwoman. So I want to talk about a couple couple things, and you mentioned relationships. I feel like this group has been an opportunity for me to make relationship with neighbors I haven't met. And so I appreciate everything everybody said. You know, the data shows that investing in green spaces is good for public health, right? It's good for our mental health, it's good for our physical health. And my neighbors have seen that firsthand at North Park. Because that park was a mess before Lozier stepped in. The city didn't do its job. Lozier did the city's job. The walking trail, you'll see mommies with their babies walking their babies around the trail. It's a mile-long trail. If you haven't walked that trail, I encourage you to do it. It's one of the prettiest trails in our city, by far. People walk their dogs on that trail. Kids bike along the trail. The concert stage there. If you haven't been to a summer concert at Miller Park, do yourself a favor. Come to the concert. Look at these beautiful tall shade trees. You sit under the shade trees, you picnic, you drink. And the music is excellent. Angelina Timeless. She's been there. She's performer of the year. The bandstand's there because of Lozier, and her concert was funded by Lozier. Drayon, excellent performer. He was there, thanks to Lozier. And that's the kind of thing that builds community and builds mental health. And it makes us feel good about who we are, and it makes us more neighborly. So that's how investing in green space makes a difference. But this investment, that makes a difference. And we have seen that firsthand. My neighbors, we are out there with our chainsaws and our pickup trucks and our weed whackers and our litter bags all the time. We are doing the city's work, okay? And if you were to FOIA, and I know there's a report in the room, if you were to FOIA Miller Park complaints, you get a shit ton. Not just from the neighbors, but you get them from other people who are in responsibility and should be listened to. And the dog park, I think you mentioned the dog park that was in Tatters for a year. It was a mangled mess. It was an eyesore. It was a blight on our neighborhood for a full year. The fence has 9 broken spots in it. The fountain in the lake doesn't work. You know why that matters? Not only does it stink, but I'm a former reporter and about the environment and weather and climate. That lake probably has toxic algae in it. It can probably kill your dog. It matters that the lake is taken care of and there's a fountain function. But did it get fixed by the city? No. We've got broken fences, we've got a broken fountain, the surface of the playground. The city has gotten so many complaints about the surface of that playground, and was it fixed? No. Our golf course, Mr. Rice is here, our golf carts are 30 years old. They break down on our patrons. People are stuck out in the middle of golf course. And our golfers are 80, they're 90, they have back hips. So we have been neglected. And the point about $100,000, I hope it's not lost on anybody. All these things were broken. There's $100,000 sitting there. It had the money. Did it spend the money? No. So any idea that we can trust the city to take care of us, I think it's a fallacy. I have been very appreciative of Mayor Ewing. Our potholes are being patched. Our boulevard has been mowed almost every week now with routine. And these are no longer a problem on our boulevard. So we are seeing the difference. But he's not going to be there forever. And so 5 years, 10 years, in my opinion, that gives us uncertainty. Because we're going to need more friends in the future, not fewer. Right? It's not going to make it easier in this world. But so that's kind of my view. I'm not speaking really for my neighborhood. We haven't had an opportunity to take a vote and see what is the pulse of the neighborhood. I know many of my neighbors are for it. I know some of them are very nervous about having a private investment govern our park, and they're nervous about it. But we are looking forward to the potential that Lozier additionally brings to the table. And somebody asked, why Miller Park? Why Lozier Miller Park? The reason is the blood of North Omaha runs through the Lozier family. The Loziers are North Omaha. Alan Lozier grew up in North Omaha. He grew up around Miller Park. So when his family, now he's gone, when his family said, let's take care of the park, that's an example of North Omaha taking care of North Omaha. That's not Keywood Foundation. That's not West Omaha coming into North Omaha. It might be Cunningham Trust. Why Cunningham Trust? He's the old parks director. You know? Brooks, the old parks director. He knows how to run the park. So, of course, you would ask that expertise. How are we going to do this? To your point about about Rainwood Road, I share your skepticism. But that was, how do I want to say this? That was a deal that was on the table, right? Give us, let us close Rainwood Road, we'll give you $1 million. No thanks, right? The neighborhood said no thanks. They walked away, they came in, they did it. Well, I guess what I want to say about that, there's no current known unknown. That was a known unknown when that happened. And I understand your skepticism, but as a person who lives in this neighborhood, I don't see a similar conflict of interest with those here. So yeah, there's something else. Why I was here, why? Yeah, anyway, the other thing about the money, the $5 million, that's 40% increase. For us to get the average, we have to increase our study maintenance portion by 40%. That's how underfunded our city is. And so, we need the help. We need the help. And we hope that there's ways that we can work together and make this happen. But generally, I think my neighborhood would be supportive if we had the opportunity to vote on it.
I know we're at about 10:30. I saw your hand and I saw your hand. I just want to see if there's any other thoughts before we. Okay, go ahead.
I too am a resident of this area. I moved here in 1977. I've seen a lot of things and I've seen a lot of crazy things happen in this community. I can remember a time when Miller Park was open and active, but I also remember a time when it was dead. And I remember a time when it was called Killer Park. And then you did not send your kids over. There was a level of discomfort within the community. And I watched that evolve. And I also want to piggyback on something you said, because those years footprint in this community is not new. My mother, we grew up on 23rd and Anderson. Those years was around the corner from us, the back. That provided jobs for a lot of people in the community, valuable jobs, and created intergenerational wealth. And I'm glad that Lozier has remained and continued to invest in this community when you could have taken the money and ran. A whole lot of other people have done it, and they came in and made a bunch of promises that were not there. I remember a time when this school was empty. Blessed Sacrament sat empty for a number of years. There was nothing going on here. There was nothing going on in the park. I drive past this every single day to get home. I saw what was going on here. I was excited about the fact that it was going to be a school. It was going to be a high quality school. There made these commitments. And I remember the first time I came, I actually called my kids who don't live in Omaha. The first time I came through and I'm seeing families, I'm seeing intergenerational activity in that park. I'm seeing kids, I'm seeing people my age, I'm seeing other everything. So the fact that this has been done and the fact that there is a commitment, we have an incredible, as Terry says, sometimes you just got to pull the trigger. We have an incredible opportunity to make this park and keep it right. And then also in terms of working with the community, much of the artwork that you see in this building was created by North Omaha residents who live in this area. When you walk out and you see those meerkats, I did those. I did them along with the community. I did them along with the kids in the school. I spent an entire summer. And they hired me, I live in the community. They hired Houston Alexander, who lives in North Omaha. So there's a whole lot of things that go on. In terms of the music series, I worked in art in public funding for the arts. That was a huge financial commitment to pay Anjali, to pay people, to keep it going. There are sound people that are paid from this. There's more than just them on the stage. So I've watched this grow and evolve. If there is lack of investment, I would hate to see what that park would look like. I would hate to see what it would look like. We cannot afford to go back to where we were. Let's work together, let's figure it out, and let's keep Miller Park as it is, or encourage and invest in the community to make it better. This is a very strong neighborhood association. A lot of good things happened here. There were 3,000 plus kids on the boulevard. People come from all over the city but also a lot of the other things that you do and that foundations will like it or not. But the thing is to get the people that live and work in this community, that profit from this community, to put back. And I would challenge you to tell me how many other foundations. There's a couple. There's a whole lot of people that come in here and rob and pillage this community and don't give a dime back and don't give a damn about it. So, and I've lived here by choice. I could have moved a long time ago. My kids are grown, and I don't think, well, I got one that kind of lives here.
Nobody does.
But I'm just saying that I choose to live here. I feel very safe in this community. I feel secure. My kids all went to Metalusa. They're all incredibly successful. I support this effort 110%. And say hi to the meerkats.
I mean, the issue is the park. I think we all want the park to be as good as it can be. I mean, it's a question of focus. I mean, you can give the parks another $5 million, and that doesn't guarantee one bit that any of it's going to end up in Miller Park.
Amen.
So I think it's a great idea because a professional organization that's committed to the neighborhood is willing to come in and say, we're going to focus on this park. I mean, I don't know. There's outs, we're not selling the park. You can take it away anytime. It strikes me as almost, sort of a no-lose situation. And I use the park multiple times a week, and it's a focus issue. Like this summer, a 50-gallon garbage can was rolled into the pond. And it sat there for weeks and weeks. And I know Mike was all in this city. And, finally, after 3 or 4 weeks, the garbage can finally got out. I think if somebody's there, the park is their responsibility. They're focused on it. That garbage can wouldn't have been sitting there for long.
Well, again, thank you all for your time. I'll just add that, clearly the park is a priority. It's a priority for the mayor and administration. But we have a finite amount of money in the city general fund. This support will supplement our budget, augment our budget, but it will be earmarked for operations and maintenance of Miller Park, which will enhance the overall park experience. The survey will remain open. This is actually the second stakeholder meeting, so we have collected a lot of information. We hear what you have to say. We appreciate your input, and you can rest assured that when the final decision is made, it will be a collective decision that will be in the interest of improving the overall park experience. So thank you all for your time.
Thank you so much.
I know. There's pros and cons.
I noticed.
I wrote it on your
Wait a minute. Here. I've got Anthony Rogers right here, and we all know, well, I shouldn't say we all, but most of us know. What's your thoughts on this meeting today?
Well, first, Ms. Cheryl, it's always nice to bump into you like this. We've had a big week. It seems to me that a decision has already been made, that this was a cosmetic exercise for the most part. Again, I don't have a problem with this family foundation per se. I do think foundations are used as a way for wealthy families to not pay their fair share of taxes, but I think that the root cause of this issue is not being discussed enough. And the root cause of the issue is that our city's budgeting process is not democratic enough, and we are seeing the impacts, the consequences of a bloated police budget that then neglects funding that could be used for people-centered projects like our public, parks. And then the other thing, Ms. Cheryl, you know this better than anyone because you're there every week, this abuse of tax increment finance, this is also one of those consequences. So in the short term, we are losing a bunch of taxes, giving developers essentially a 15-year tax freeze and not listening to what State Auditor Colvin said. It was like, in the short term, you are neglecting funding that could be used for public parks. So again, I understand that they said that they just can't give the money without getting into some sort of agreement or arrangement, because then it wouldn't just be earmarked for Miller Park. But
that's not totally true, because they already said they gave a pot of money and they never used it till this new administration came in. And even though there was 5 different areas that they have these so-called trusts, none of them are near the demographics or the size of Miller Park.
And then the other point I want to make is that it's kind of like a power move to hold a meeting in a school that the Lozier Foundation funded. And there's just too much connection. Environmental, nonprofit executive directors, lawmakers, people in the community. I just think that we need to, we got our brother Buddy here from Sky, as they like to say, follow the money. And I think that when we start following the money, it's going to get a little.
I agree. I think the ideal is one thing, but we need to be community land trust, not. And Lozier needs to support a community trust.
That's right. I love that better, because also the people who are taking a part of the process, we're talking about surveys. I think everybody who fills out that survey needs to be asked the question, have you ever received any financial assistance from the Lozier Family Foundation? Because it seems like a lot of people already have. I'm not going to name any names, but follow the money. All right,
follow the money.
Go. Thank you, Ms. Chief.
Yeah. I'm sorry, you said you were but what position, or how do you, I see Lozier, so I'm assuming you're with the Lozier Foundation.
Yeah, I'm a program officer.
Program officer, and Colleen, can you give us your name?
Colette Lozier.
Colette, I said Colleen, I'm sorry, apologize. What is your feeling that you come out of the meeting here with?
I think it was really great feedback to hear people's opinions about the proposal, and so I think that this will all be taken into consideration.
Do you feel like it was? You got to stay. Do you feel like what people are feeling like, community-wise, is this a done deal, or is Lozier's committed to having more community input before going forth with their promise to do A, B, C, and D?
Yeah, no, this is definitely not a done deal.
Okay.
We're definitely in the community input stage.
Okay.
We had to have a proposal to be able to present, because you have to have some type of plan of what it would look like. But we're definitely want to hear what the community wants, what the neighborhood wants it to look like.
Thank you, Clint. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for coming.
Oh, definitely.
Have a good trip. Take care.
Be careful. I know, I said, hey, look at hey, why you dressing like me today? About to head to the ball game. That's what I'm saying, you go to the game.
May I have a few minutes with you, Miss Council?
No.
You ain't gonna do that?
No.
You made your comment there, so
What comment?
How do you?
Okay, I had to put in a plug for your 100-year-old golfer. They talking about 60, 70, 80. You got a 100-year-old, 102. You got a 102-year-old golfer over there. Mr. Walls. Mr. Walls, he's 102 and he over there. So
2 years young. I don't want to step in front of your camera there.
But say this.
All I wanted to say was, like I said, I do appreciate the thought, because I feel like it always happens. Oops, excuse me. In North Omaha, that these things come about, but what about the people who are here? They should be on that community.
There's no question.
The contracts, those things should be done.
Oh, no question about it. And that's why I wanted, Nancy had her hand up back there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, these are the folks that have been working in this park and dealing with this issue for decades. I mean, it goes back to when I was on the city council. So that's how long I know these folks have been working here, and they, and I know that they've had input on the surveys.
Sounds good.
Because Tawny's been collecting that data. So that's all I did. I don't think there's not any divergence. I just want the people who live here to be heard
first.
Thank you.
Okay.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good. How do you feel about the meeting today? How do you feel? Did it change the ideal of what you think the city, or what the next time, the steps or so forth? What do you think came out of this?
Before the meeting, so we had a meeting on December 4th,
Right.
And there were people from the community that showed up that day. We got some feedback there, and then the survey had been open, so we had about 90 responses leading up to today. We read those, and I would say the number one thing that the survey said was people want more information. And so when we showed up today, the goal was to deliver more information to the community so that they can make a decision. I think I heard today that people want the opportunity and the time to provide feedback, and so if we need to change the timeline, we will definitely extend it so that we can get that information and incorporate it into an agreement.
Thank you. Acre.
For sure. Yes. I've got to do something.
Quick, couple of minutes. What did you think out of the meeting?
Right now. It's
Okay, she said she didn't want to be interviewed.
No, it's
live.
not that I said I didn't want to be interviewed.
Right
I said
now.
I don't want to interview right now because I've got to be somewhere at noon.
That's fine.
what I said.
You're good.
Okay.
I already got your comments that you said before, so
Okay. And that's
I
good,
just
Cheryl. I
wanted
appreciate
to
you're bringing a voice to the community.
just what you felt out of the end of the meeting. That's all.
I'm still processing. I'll put it like that. I'm still processing. Okay.
Good.
Okay. But you know me. You know how to get in touch with me, and I know how to find you. Okay.
I'll be waiting for it.
So that's what I like to see. But
Thank you. Thanks for calling me out.
A couple of news gang soldiers doing the work right in front of each other.
Come on, we're gonna have a standoff here.
Interview standoff.
Always good to see you. Oh, I was trying to get Senator Spivey for a quick minute. Now I know he's is that? I know he had something.
Who was the guy? Because I wanted to talk to him. You were interviewing. I wanted to get his name.
Anthony Rogers, right? Yeah, you want me to send you this contact? Anthony Rogers, R-W-R-I-G. I'll send it to you. I'll just tell him, hey, Anthony, and he loves to talk so he's been in environmental. I met that's what Senator Chambers was running against Roger, and I met him, but he's been involved with several organizations, New York, all over. Actually, Omaha, he was involved in the Eastern canvas.
Okay.
And then he's been back.
You're still real articulate. Well, so are you always.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we'll have lunch, yeah. Okay. Yeah, we met on Friday. Yeah, so it went really good actually. So, yeah, it went really good. Yeah, it's good to see you. Good to see you. I wanted to, so I wanted to
Here she comes. So, what did you feel like end of the meeting? How did you feel?
I feel better than I felt coming in, because honestly, I believe that Lozier is sincere when they say we'll pull out. We'll pull out. That if the neighborhood doesn't want this, the community doesn't want it, we won't do it. And I can say that the people that are immediately around the park, many of us really want this, because we're exhausted by all the work that we're doing as volunteers to pick up and take care of stuff, and we're exhausted from complaining and not getting stuff fixed.
I think the point that I think more should have been brought out about this. Yes, we have a new administration, and as I said, I think some of it it's moving too quickly. Slow it down and do it, because I'm agreeing with you. I do believe Lozier's is in it, and it's in their heart, and they do it, and they're going to continue. But I think that the city has better responsibility, and they could have done a better job. And with this new administration, that pot's still there. They can do that in the meantime while there's more community involvement. But I agree that I think Lozier's, I take my hat off to them. They are committed to North Omaha and will be. I just think what happened today, it's being too much. And I wanted to make sure that, and I would like to speak with them to say, it's great to have the...
To your point, that once it gets off the ground, assuming it does go forward, that you will see more community people in paid positions of leadership, not just on an advisory table.
Correct.
Board. And so I am taking, I don't know if the right word is trust, but anyway, I'm taking them at their word that this is just getting it off the ground. But there has to be community persons who are running
the show
in the paid positions.
Paid positions. We've done our volunteer forever and ever. That needs to stop. But I agree. I do believe, and as I said, it's not that I'm opposed to this. It's that I don't like how quickly it's moving. What I heard
of the whole dang city.
Yep. Well, anything that gets before the city council, that's a done deal. So if you're putting it there for the first January or December 23rd, I think that's not giving North Omaha again a real true statement saying, we want to hear. All you're doing is setting this up for cosmetic look and to make us feel, but we're not really involved.
Well, I hope we are being listened to. And I believe we are. And let me give you an example. When Lozier did all of the improvements, it was $8 million, almost $7 or $8 million of improvements at Miller Park. They wanted to tear down the pavilion and build a brand new one. And the neighborhood said, no, that's a historic building. It's beautiful. It's the heart of our neighborhood.
Right.
We all grew up with it. And they listened, and they didn't tear down the building. They doubled the size. And if you look at it, it's gorgeous. But that was at expense to them, right? But they listened. So I think they have a track record of listening that we can hopefully build upon. And the other thing I'd say is these private partnerships, I'm a public parks kid, so I get the idea that the city should be paying for these parks and taking care of them. That is my belief. It's not happening. Parts of our city are already benefiting from these public-private partnerships. And this is an opportunity for us. And again, why Miller Park? Because the Lozier Foundation has family ties to Miller Park. This is their neighborhood. Right. So anyway, we're hopeful.
That's Nancy Gardner, the old World Herald, one of the best reporters, and now as a volunteer and retiree, I think she's working harder now than she was before, but she is the president of the Miller Park Neighborhood Association, and she's been doing a great job. She's got it.
We go back 25 years, don't we?
Do you have to tell all of that? Thanks, Nancy.
Yeah, thank you.
I am not
video ready.
That's
Miss
okay.
Cheryl. Oh my gosh.
You was right here, and I got to all of that.
I mean,
So
hopefully there was a good lighting coming
yeah.
in.
Just a quick couple of questions because
Yes,
I know
ma'am.
you're busy. What did you feel was the outcome of this meeting, and do you feel like the city was really listening or is listening?
Yeah, I think so. I think in general, I appreciate these meetings, and like I said, it's a privilege to be able to have a Saturday you can come, and so I have talked to like Adams Park, like Fontnail, and the things that are happening. And Florence is still terrible, but we're working on it, and so I think that's that conversation of like, how do we make sure our parks and amenities in North Omaha match any other part of the city, and it doesn't.
And it doesn't.
And it does not. And so that is a conversation, and I've had that since I've been in office. Metal up, and then there was a big hole underneath the slide, like all of these things. And so I have been calling and been talking to the city, and I think it's going to go back to choices. And right now, the city's budget is confined, and it's going to be even more confined of what we do at the state. And so if they are not going to prioritize our parks and amenities, this feels like an option to do it. And what I heard today is that if this happens, people want very clear communication and structure around the off-ramps, that is very clearly defined of who owns it. How do we continue to get community input, and that's a part of the process and the end product that it just doesn't.
I'm Cheryl Weston.
Cheryl?
I'm here, and you're being on my show called Conversations with Cheryl Weston.
All right.
And if you could tell my audience who you are. I knew you were Loziers, but I didn't know everything.
I am Trey Brashear. I'm the Chief Operating Officer of the Lozier Foundation.
Okay. Out of this meeting today, what is the feeling that you have? What was accomplished? Has it changed Lozier's position at all?
Well, I want to talk with everyone who is here. I want to see the survey results. We want to see the survey results. We want to make sure that we were getting that feedback. Our perspective is we want to be representative. We want to do goodwill. We want to do good things in the park. And what I heard from people today is the concern with primarily the timing, that they feel that, I think you were even one that articulated concern that it's being rushed, and that there is a desire for community input and make sure there's a definite structure to that. So I think that's something we'll take out of that. Like, how can we incorporate those comments? How can we reflect them? How can we still have a date when we know we may pick up operations? So how do we work back from that, as Jacqueline was alluding to? But fundamentally, those are things that we definitely need to be better at, or be communicating better with, so that people have more comfort in the process. But as I alluded to, our objective has always been to make the park better, and it's not to take anything away from anybody, and we're comfortable with the structure in which the city can say, on second thought, this isn't working, or we don't like it, or we now fund parks to a level where we think we should do it ourselves. We're happy to let the city take it back. We're not trying to stop that, own anything, or change anything.
One of the things that the community has, it's happened to us so many times when you talk about, as I said in my little few words there, is we always get kind of shafted, and these experts, like it said even in the fact sheet, the experts from Cunningham, the city alluded to that they have a template, but the template came from them. North Omaha, particularly Miller Park, is nothing like Turner. It's nothing like in the Midtown. It's nothing like River. It's nothing like that. We are different, unique. We're smaller, but we're still community. And it always seems like it's never the community people who will be paid on this staff that they talked about, the development of it. Will Lozier say, we want community to be part of that? Let the community, that's where, I speaking for myself, and I know other people speak to me, we really do feel that Lozier has been North Omaha, the founder. That was his commitment, was North Omaha helped him to be what he became, and he wants it to stay here. And I've been at some meetings where there's been, and he says, no, he's not doing that. Before, he passed up. But it was that the foundation is, no, North Omaha. That's where we are at.
That will
And
always
that
be our
was it.
focus. That is donor intent. That's what Alan and Diane want to have happen.
Right.
So, we're committed to this area. People may disagree on what that should look like or how that should be reflected, but yes, absolutely. In terms of the park itself, we want to make sure that we're maintaining, we're servicing it, we're operating in a way that makes sense, and that it's effective. And as alluded to, like the trash can doesn't sit in the pond. Like that there's a responsiveness, that there's an attentiveness, and those are the things. And the survey is still open, but the results coming back are people want to make sure that trash is picked up and
Right.
bathrooms are open. Like those
Yes.
are the two things that people
It
want
is.
more than anything. So we want to make sure that that happens first, and how that happens, what the structure is that makes that happen. But those are the things that we want to do. We want to make sure that where we focus on and that by the end of this year, by the end, well, not this year, but by the end of next year, like it's like, no, Miller Park's improved. Like they're doing what they said they would do, and we're comfortable with that structure. That if we don't do what we say we're going to do, if people aren't happy and the city's not happy, like the city can take it back.
Thank you so much for your
welcome.
time. It was nice to
Absolutely.
meet you.
Thanks for caring. Thanks for being here.